Given all the blood, sweat and tears to get to the point you've got to, what are you doing to protect your IP? You may have mentioned patents, but I just wondered what you have in place there.
Yeah, we have a number of things in place. We obviously have the original patent for the product. We've also filed new patents for the developments that we made based on the original technology. For example, I talked about it, the switch, where when the product touches the skin, the light comes on, so we've patented that. We've also spent a lot of money on trademarks and making sure that we register the trademarks, particularly for the US market.
How do you measure emotional wellness?
Oh, that's a very good question. I don't think we have a standard answer to what emotional wellness is, because it varies person to person. But we're certainly recognising that that's much more complex than we ever thought possible, because that emotional complexity, certainly we see our target customer is female, 35 plus. We've done a piece of work recently around sleep, and the language that's used, the types of example used varies hugely between the genders. So we've probably got quite a different approach for females as we do for males. But again, if we ask the same kind of question to the different life stage groups, we get very different answers to that. So I'm afraid I couldn't give you a standard response to that one.
You said that you had increased the workforce from 4 to 78, and I wondered how that had manifested itself, what kind of employment that involved, and what the implications of such a giant increase were.
It's a great question, yes. It's a challenge. You know, when you go from being a sprinter to a middle distance company, you have to account for all sorts of practicalities, and the staff build has been quite challenging. You know, that slide I put up at the back end there, that was actually taken a year ago, and I'd say probably about 20% of the people that are in that photograph are no longer with us. So it's culturally how you identify people that are going to add value with their perhaps medium and larger scale company experience, when you need things like CRM systems or R&D processes which have to come into still a very aggressive startup environment, and can they actually cope with the pace that you're still going? And that is a challenge, and we got to that number by acquisition as well. We acquired a company in the States, so that came with about 35 headcount. We rocked their world and they rocked ours, and it was quite an interesting process, but we managed to survive that, and what that did was that gave us a good stable of people and the infrastructure that we needed in terms of payroll, insurance cover, incentive programs and that type of thing.
It's a question really for PWB, Boots and the U Company. Each of you are providing medical information to customers, and Jim, you're very careful to say this is not a diagnostic product. The question is, where do each of you draw the line to becoming a diagnostic?
The screen actually picks up the fact there is something wrong, but it can't say what's wrong. So you then go to the doctors for a definite diagnosis. So what you're doing is you're picking up signs that something is wrong, but you're not looking at the cause of those signs. So, for example, to take our test, you might find blood in the urine. That blood in the urine can be caused by many factors. So what you're doing is you're picking up the signs that the doctor should be looking at, but it's up to him to identify what the cause is and what the treatment is.
So from a retail perspective, we've never dealt in diagnostics, even though we've got technology out there that could actually give you a yes or no answer. That's not to say that won't change in the future, because certainly with the development from an accuracy and acceptability perspective in point-of-care testing devices now, we're starting to find that the medical profession is happy for us to offer some of that equipment to end users and don't repeat the tests themselves. But really that's only ever worked from if you take the pregnancy test kits, which are now done commonplace and accepted. 30 years ago they certainly wouldn't have been. So that is developing, and certainly we've got more permission than before to offer diagnostics. But we'd certainly be picking very carefully our categories where we'd want a healthcare professional to be the person that delivers the diagnosis.